All right, welcome everyone to the September 18th Board of Supervisors meeting. We're going to start with the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, and tonight we are starting with a special acknowledgement. And I have a special plaque that I'm going to be giving in appreciation of Chris Patton. Chris Patton was appointed by the Supervisors to the Tredyffrin Township Municipal Authority in 2012. Over his 11 years of service, the Authority Board oversaw the sewer system and its finances while dealing with the challenges presented by the Valley Creek sewer line breaks in Valley Forge Park in 2014, its full repair and relining, and the sale of the Valley Creek line for $22 million in 2018. During his tenure, the authority retired its remaining debt and maintained its strong financial reserves for investment in the township sewer infrastructure. Chris was valued by his authority colleagues for his diligence, thoughtful questions, and wisdom. The Board of Supervisors would like to recognize Chris Patton for his contributions to the Municipal Authority Board over the past 11 years and thank him for his service to the Tredyffrin community. And I'm going to hand this plaque to Mike Heberg. Let me bring this down.
I'll just say a word or two on Chris's behalf. Chris was appointed to the board, and I was the liaison to this municipal authority at the time, and then I've been serving on the municipal authority so I've basically worked with Chris for 11 years on sewer stuff, and he was a real stalwart. He had some physical challenges over his time, but he was always somebody that we really valued, somebody who really helped and served the township in ways that not many people see, but he did a terrific job, and I'll be happy to pass this along to him. I'm sure he will appreciate the recognition. Thank you.
All right, now we are going to move to our public hearing, and I call to order a public hearing to consider and possibly adopt Ordinance H.R. 472 to authorize an addendum to lease agreement between the Township and Cradle of Liberty Council, Boy Scouts of America, for a portion of the property located at 1485 Valley Forge Road. Mr. McKenna.
Thank you, Dr. Gussie. I have marked the following board exhibits for the hearing this evening. Board Exhibit 1 is the proof of publication of the notice of the hearing in the Daily Local News on September 11th, 2023. Board Exhibit 2 is the proof of publication from the Philadelphia Inquirer dated September 11th, 2023 for the notice of the hearing. Board Exhibit 3 is the email and copy of distribution list sent to Township residents who wish to receive notices of the public hearings dated September 7th, 2023. Board Exhibit 4 is a copy of the ordinance for tonight, H.R. 472. And Board Exhibit 5 is the actual lease amendment, which is attached to the ordinance as an exhibit. Those are the board exhibits for the hearing.
Thank you. Do we have a motion to adopt Ordinance H.R. 472?
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Any board comment? Any public comment? All right, hearing none, this is roll call vote. Supervisor Miller.
Aye.
Supervisor Humble. Aye. Supervisor Holt.
Aye.
Supervisor Wysocki. Aye. Supervisor Freed.
Aye.
Supervisor Basker.
Aye.
And I vote aye. Thank you. That concludes the public hearing. All right, and now we move to announcements. In observance of Columbus Day and Indigenous Peoples Day, Township offices will be closed Monday, October 9th. Please join us in the festivities for the Township's annual Community Day on Saturday, October 14th in Wilson Farm Park from 2 to 6 p.m. Open positions remain for the Zoning Hearing Board, Historical Commission, and Library Board of Trustees. If you're interested in volunteering, send your information to Tredyffrin@tredyffrin.org. Now we move to the approval of minutes. Do we have a motion to approve the minutes of the August 28th, 2023 public meeting?
So moved.
Do we have a second? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Now we move to township business. The board met in executive session prior to this meeting to discuss personnel issues. And we move to supervisor liaison reports. Supervisor Miller.
The zoning hearing board met on August 29th. They heard an appeal by Josh and Jessica Sontag at 1317 Wisteria. They want to run a cooking class at their home, and they need a variance to allow more than 4 commercial visits per day. So they were approved for a maximum of 8 students per class and 6 classes per month. So that's 8 individual classes. So that was approved. The zoning hearing board also approved an application by John and Stephanie Hughes at 48 Crestline Drive. They wanted setback relief and parking inside the setback and a couple things like that for their addition. This was approved subject to equipment being stored near a retaining wall out of the way of the neighbor, contractor having proper insurance, complying with all township stormwater applicable statutes and permits, and that the actual plan constructed is consistent with the plan presented to the zoning hearing board. And they also approved this settlement with Chase Bank for a bank without a drive-through ATM on Lancaster Drive. That concludes the business. The next meeting is the 29th of this month.
Thank you. Supervisor Humble.
Thank you. The Parks and Recreation Board met on Wednesday, September 13th, and discussed, in addition to our usual matters, the upcoming Community Day, which is set for Saturday, October 14th from 2 to 6 p.m. We are still looking for volunteers who can help out with Parks and Rec. This should be a terrific opportunity for the whole township to come out. Additionally, was discussed a proposal that's been coming before the board for a little over a year now for a disc golf park at Mill Road Park. And the suggestions have been considered at various times. They wanted to do 18 holes, and then they lowered their ask to 9 holes. However, because of the ongoing consideration for the bike park at Mill Road Park and the needs to expand the composting area at Mill Road Park, this item is being postponed for several months because we think we need to see how the other items turn out at Mill Road Park before adding possibly yet another project to happen at that park. The next Parks and Rec Board meeting will occur on Wednesday, October the 11th at 7 p.m.
Thank you. Supervisor Holt.
Nothing for me except I reserve right to say one thing in case Supervisor Bhaskar doesn't hit on the one event I'm wondering if he's going to address later on, so we'll see.
Mysterious. Supervisor Wysocki.
No report except that the Planning Commission meets this Thursday evening, the 21st.
Thank you. Supervisor Freed.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The Historical Commission met on September 14th. Yesterday, the Historical Commission hosted the first historical neighborhood walk around Walker and Thomas Roads. 50 neighbors visited the 4 houses of Washington's generals and talked with the owners about caring for historic homes. First discussions on organizing the America 250th commemoration in 2026 are taking place. The Commission expects broad township participation for that, as well as in 2027, which is when a lot of the activities occurred in Chester County. And finally, the consultant has provided a draft strategic preservation plan, which will be reviewed by the Historical Commission staff and others in municipal government. A final report is expected in November. Thank you.
Thank you. Supervisor Bhaskar.
Thank you, Dr. Gussie. So, owing to the fact that the August meeting was a week later in the calendar than anticipated, I don't have a report for either the Environmental Advisory Council or the Library Board of Trustees. The next meeting of the EAC will be on Tuesday next week. and that of the Library Board of Trustees will be on Thursday next week. However, I would like to announce that this Saturday, September 23rd at 10 a.m., there will be a rain garden tour, and this will start at the Stratford Library Rain Garden, and it includes several rain garden features of Woodland School and some residential properties along Schoolhouse Lane. So, please, if you're interested in rain gardens, please do show up at 10 o'clock on Saturday. Thank you.
Well, Bhaskar, you missed it. The Tredyffrin Township Libraries Golf event is on October 4th. Please do come. There's a great lunch, there's dinners, so even if you're not a golfer, the food's great, the people are great, and it's a wonderful cause, so please do come out. I'm hoping to see you there. Thanks.
All right. Next, we have a motion to adopt tree permit fees associated with the Woodland Conservation Ordinance. Ms. McPherson.
Yes, Madam Chair, members of the board, last month we approved the Woodland Ordinance, and as part of that we're working on, I can hear the feedback myself, it's going to bother me. We're working on the tree removal permit, and in association with that we needed a permit on our permit schedule, or fee schedules, for both the permit and then the fee in lieu of, if it is determined that someone can't do the replacements on their property, which would have to be approved by us, but there would be a fee for each tree that they were required to plant.
All right, thank you. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Any board comment or questions? Any public comment or questions? Come on up to the mic and state your name and your address.
Hi, Deborah Eeler, 205 Colquitt Lane. This is actually news to me. Can you please let us know what the ordinance is? I haven't seen it anywhere previously.
The Woodland Ordinance?
Mm-hmm.
The Woodland Ordinance we voted on, was that our last meeting? So it's available on our website.
Can you tell me what it is? I actually went on the website today and I didn't see it.
It would probably be under the code section, is it not?
But can you just tell me what it is, just so I know for public?
So I can get,
What we just voted on? What the ordinance is that was just voted on?
well, the ordinance itself was voted on last month, so
Okay.
it was approved by the board. So what the ordinance is if you remove more than 5 trees in a calendar year, 12 months, you would have to do tree replacements. You would have to replant trees on your property, and that number is dependent on the size of the caliper of tree that is being removed. There are exemptions for dead trees and hazardous trees and non-viable trees, but if you are removing healthy trees on your property, you would need to do replacements.
Okay, and how will that be communicated to the residents?
For the actual permit, or?
Yeah, the replacement. That's actually why I'm
Right.
here to speak later, because there's a lot of stuff happening that I don't think we're getting informed on, so I'm just curious how that will be communicated so residents are aware of this new ordinance.
I mean, it's always on, it will be on our website. The code itself is being codified. Again, what happens is the board approved it last month. It doesn't get enacted until 31 days after that adoption by the board. So we're still in that kind of gray period. I don't think it would be an E-Code 360, which is all of the township codes are available on our website. I don't believe it's on there yet.
Right, I was actually looking at today. That's why this is news to me. I was on the code site, so thank you.
Mm-hmm.
But, excuse me, ma'am, if you, I'm David, I just want to tell you where you can find it easily on the site here. So if you look under the Board of Supervisors and you look at the material for last month's meeting, it's all right in there, if that's helpful to you.
That would be, thank you.
Yeah, if you send your email to my assistant, Patricia Hoffman.
Say it again?
If you send an email, your email address to Patricia Hoffman, we can make sure you get your copy of it as well.
Okay,
Yep.
thank you.
All right, any other public comments or questions? All right, hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Next, we have a motion to authorize the township manager to execute documents for reimbursement associated with costs incurred for a personnel matter. Mr. Duraco.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This is a matter as written. It's a personnel item, so I won't get into detail, but this is something that staff worked on with the solicitor's office. The agreements are drafted up. Everything's good to go. The employee has agreed to the terms, so just need board approval. Thank you.
Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Do we have a second? Any board comment? Any public comment? All right, hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Next, we have a motion to authorize the township manager to execute a settlement agreement for a former employee. Mr. Duraco.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the board. Same thing, personnel matter that staff worked on with Labor Council, just needs board approval. Thank you.
Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Any board comment? Any public comment? All right, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? Motion carries.
Madam Chair, real quick, in terms of housekeeping, the motion to appoint Mr. Rob Spellick to the Municipal Authority, I just would request that you have a motion to table that tonight since he was unavailable to meet with you tonight.
Oh, I didn't realize it was actually written on there. Okay, so do we have a motion to table the
So
motion?
moved. Yeah, so moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you, sorry about that.
Yeah, no problem. All right, now we have a motion to approve 2024 minimal municipal obligations for police and non-uniformed pensions. Mr. Duraco.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the board. The MMO for 2024 are as follows. For the non-uniform pensions, $426,174. For the police pension, it's $1,220,740. If you look at I'll specifically call out the police pension, we had two options, one being 1.2 million, the other one being 2.1 million. We've elected to, what's called smoothing, smooth the pension or MMO this year. Again, due to market conditions at the end of last year, pretty unfavorable, which had a great impact. So while the MMO for next year is going to be 1.2, I would anticipate that our budget will be, closer to that 2.1 million. But there's no way to have you guys vote on that tonight. So we elected the 1.2 million. Assuming the state aid stays about the same, we're looking at a net pension cost of about $900,000 for next year. Happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Any board comment? Any public comment? All right, all in favor say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Next, we have a motion to authorize the sale of used vehicles on municipal. Mr. Duraco.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We actually just got delivery of a couple of more of our police vehicles that we had ordered what feels like a year ago at this point. And so we need some more space down in the parking lot. And we had a couple of other things that just need to be sold as well. Happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Any board comment? Any public comment? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Next, we have a motion to approve capital purchase of GPS equipment for the sewer department. Mr. Fitzgerald.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the board. Staff is requesting board approval for the purchase of a GPS locator system from Topcon Solutions. This GPS locator will be used to accurately locate our assets in the field and transfer that information into our GIS system. The equipment is compatible with our current software and will be entered into our ArcGIS system. The purchase of this equipment and a one-year subscription is $21,779.20 through the Co-Stars program. Happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Any board comment? Any public comment? All right, hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Next, we have a motion to approve change order 1 from Clipper Pipe and Service for the Public Works Building. Mr. Fitzgerald.
Thanks, Madam Chair, members of the board. Township seeking authorization from the board to approve a change order for the Public Works Building. This change order is from Clipper Pipe and Services, who did all the installation work to add a dehumidifier system to the HVAC. The unit will help lower the high moisture content that is currently in our building. Price of $8,735. Happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Any board comment? Any public comment? All right, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Next, we have a motion to approve proposal from AK Petersheim for insulation repair. Mr. Fitzgerald.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the board. Township is seeking authorization from the Board of Supervisors to approve a work order for the Public Works Building. This work order is from AK Petersheim to seal openings in the mezzanine that allow the heat to infiltrate the finished office space below. By electing to do this work, the HVAC system will run more efficiently compared to the way it's running now. Price of this would be $4,500, and happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Any board comment? Any public comment? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Next, we have a motion to approve capital purchase of furniture for sewer offices. Mr. Fitzgerald.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the board. Township is seeking authorization of the Board of Supervisors to provide furniture additions to the Public Works Building. The cost is additional tables and seats to the lunchroom, more shelving for the storage facility, and an overhead organization space for the receptionist. This work is not to exceed $11,378.01. Setup and delivery is included in the price. Happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Any board comments or questions?
Does this come out of sewer or?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Any public comments or questions? All right, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Next, we have a motion to approve proposal from Pro Max Fence System for Stratford Park Tennis Courts. Mr. Fitzgerald.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the board. Staff is requesting board approval for the replacement and repair of the fencing at the Stratford Tennis Courts, along with the addition of a windscreen. With the completion of this resurfacing of the courts, we now need to replace the fencing around the courts due to its condition. At Stratford, there are many posts that need to be repaired and one that needs to be replaced. Woodland School and other users asked us to also add wind screening. We have a proposal from Pro Max Fence Systems, who is a Co-Stars vendor, to do the work. The total of the fence replacement is $24,795, and the addition of the windscreen is an additional $8,385. This work is included in a budget and will be completed by the end of the year. And the Woodland School is going to be paying 25% of the $8,385. Happy to answer any questions.
Thanks. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All right. Any board comments? Any public comment? All right. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Next, we have a motion to approve a beer garden for the EAC fundraising event at Stratford Park in October. Mr. Duraco.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The EAC reached out maybe 2 weeks ago requesting to have another beer garden. They had a beer garden at their event last year. It was very successful, so Township staff supported it. So we're here to ask the board's approval.
Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Any board comment?
Yes, Dr. Gussie. I think this is an important fundraising event for the EAC, and I think the entire event was a success, and having the beer garden there also was, I think, contributed to the attractiveness of the event. So I'm quite happy to vote in favor.
Any other board comments? Any public comments or questions? All right, hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Next, we have a motion to reject all bids for the collection, transport, and disposal of solid waste and recycling material. Mr. Duraco.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Over the last month, staff has received and reviewed the bids for single hauler. We did receive bids from A.J. Blazinski, Whitetail, and J.P. Mascaro. After the review of those, the apparent low bidder was A.J. Blazinski, a little under $9.7 million. Notwithstanding those bids, we are recommending that the board reject all the bids so that staff may reassess and revise the bid package based on feedback that we received not only from the board, the public, the bidders themselves, about the terms and provisions of the bid package. A few examples of the areas that we feel need to be addressed a little bit further are, again, level of service. We heard a lot from just various people about number of pickups, timing, etc. The start of the contract, the bid that we put out had a start date of 1/1/24. Some of our bidders were concerned that was pretty quick and might have some issues. The length of the contract, the contract itself was for 3 years, but we had additional 2 years essentially as options for the township to elect. Some of the bidders took issue with that, and it made it a little bit more difficult for them to bid. And then just from the residents' perspective, we had questions about whether or not certain HOAs could, single family could opt out of this because they were happy with their neighborhood pickup. And so, based off all that, we also received quite a bit of questions during our pre-bid process. So we want to incorporate those questions and clarifications into the bid package. And so, with that, our recommendation is to reject the bids. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All right, and we will start with board comment, and I'll just say for myself, I am in favor of moving to a single hauler in general. It's part of our clean energy transition plan. I think there are a lot of benefits, but I do think it makes sense to pause on this bid package and make sure that we clarify it and get it right for our residents, since it will be a major change. Any other board comments?
Yes, Dr. Gussie, thank you. So I was actually the board member who kind of brought this up and made the motion to bring it forward. And I think the right decision at this point is to reject it because, firstly, let me take a step back. I would like to compliment town staff, EAC members, and all of the vendors who spent quite a bit of effort in creating the package and then in creating the responses. And I know that the staff talked to other townships, and I think part of where we are is that, they got the requirements from other townships, but Tredyffrin, as rumor has it, different. So I think we didn't quite get everything that we wanted in the package. And I think it was a learning experience for us. I really appreciate all of the comments that came from everyone. So at this point, I personally would plan to vote for rejecting the bid, but I look forward to bringing it forward again in a few months, and that will hopefully be a more informed, more detailed, and a better process.
Any other board comments?
Timing for me is a big part of this. I think we just need to get more bids, number one. I think labor is at a premium right now, and I'm a little concerned about costs. So again, I'm in favor of the idea. And we'll do it again soon.
Thanks. Any other comments?
Yes, I'm still on the fence about whether to hire a single provider for Tredyffrin. However, in any new proposals that come forward, I would like to see at least an option for residents there to be a two pricing option, so that there's an option for residents who don't produce that much trash per week to be able to select an option where they have a smaller bin that comes at a lower cost that they would be able to opt to if in fact the township goes to single provider trash hauling. Thank you.
Any other comments from the board? All right, any public comments? All right, come on up.
And we have one virtual after that, Madam Chair.
Okay, we'll start with in person. Come on up.
Did somebody else have something to say?
No, it's your turn. Come on up, Debbie.
Deborah Ealer, 205 Colquitt Lane. A couple questions regarding the delay in a decision, which I'm very much in favor of the delay. But I'm one of those people that's in limbo because after using AJ Blazinski for 20 years, we switched to Whitetail this spring when because they're able to provide beautiful service for our family. And as a result of the Tredyffrin Township July 17th decision to go for this contract, Whitetail sent us a letter saying they couldn't continue our contract and they were going to charge us $25 to take away our containers. And so now our service is supposed to end in the first week of November. So with this delay in accepting, do you anticipate that the trash haulers will continue to operate in our township, or is their only option going to be Blazinski?
So that's obviously ultimately their decision. We have had quite a few conversations with both Blazinski and Whitetail about service. They both have been, quite frankly, they've been very receptive to hearing from us. So again, I would suggest that maybe you reach out to them and see if their position has changed.
Okay, and my next question would be, a concern I have about moving to single hauler is what parameters would you use to make your decision? I hear some people saying, the decision would be environmental, but I've also had neighbors express concern that they come from more regulated townships where you can't throw anything away. So is the decision going to be based on environmental needs? Is it going to be based on cost? Services provided, like what variables will you be prioritizing?
So we have pretty much how the decision gets made outlined in our bid package, and what our job is to determine who the lowest responsible bidder is and responsive. And so there are different criteria that are laid out in our bid package, and so then we review those and then make our determination.
Okay, and also I just want to say, Ms. Humble, I do appreciate and I agree it's nice to have a choice. We're a family that chooses for one day hauling. So, if you make a decision for the entire township to go to a single haul, it's going to impact a lot of us. So thank you for realizing there are a lot of variables in it. Thank you.
Thank you. Oh, actually, we'll do the online one first. Sorry. Sorry, Mr. Hebert. Ms. Clark?
Hi there, Carol Clark speaking. Question about the bids that we received. Did they include billing by the hauler and billing by the township, or did they just come in with one particular bid each? Thank you.
They were, we did receive both. The bid mentioned was the price for the hauler to bill and collect.
Okay, super. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Hebert?
Mike Heberg, Margot Lane and Berwyn. I guess I'm on the record as supporting the idea of having the hauler, whoever it is, if we go this route, bill and collect the money. I think the model really is what we use with like cable companies in the township. Verizon and Comcast, we have a franchise agreement with them. We don't expect them to deal with, the township doesn't deal with billing, doesn't deal with collection, it doesn't deal with cutting people off if they don't pay their bill, it doesn't deal with, if there's an interruption in your Comcast service, you don't call the township. So I'm glad to hear that the bid that was received included the vendor providing the billing and collection. Another question I have is, as I recall, Joe, is it about 8,000 households that the bid was covering?
Yeah, right around that number.
Okay. So if you take $9.6 million divided by 8,000, that comes out to $1,200 a year, which is an astounding number to me. I currently use Blazinski, and it's $158 a quarter. It's a little over $600 a year. I've talked to other folks who've negotiated better than I have apparently, and are paying $400 or $500 per year for their trash service. So it appears that, at least based on what's been proposed so far, the township residents will be paying a very significant price premium in order to have single hauler. So, I think that hopefully the bidding haulers will sharpen their pencils. I think that if this were, cost neutral-ish, I think, there certainly are benefits. But I would point out that what's been proposed is an astronomical increase to the average household and what it would cost to have their trash removed. So I do definitely support what seems to be the decision that's been voiced, that you're going to reject the bids and sort of circle around and go back and take another look at this.
Mr. Duraco, for some reason I thought the number was lower than that. What is it? What was the lowest bid per household?
It was
per quarter?
108 a quarter.
108 a quarter.
So 432.
So it's $9.6 million, right?
That's for the 3 years.
Oh, that's for 3 years?
Yeah.
Sorry. Yeah, small detail. Yeah. So 108. So like I have Blazinski, so it would actually be quite a bit of a reduction.
So it's not an annual cost. That's
me.
Okay. So 100. So.
For some people who currently pay less for whitetail, so it's not, but it's right in the ballpark of what people are paying now.
Okay, that's a big difference, obviously. I don't know if does it say 3 years in the thing? I guess maybe it's a total package for 3 years, and then the renewals on top of that.
Yeah. So the bids presented are just the base bid, and then we have the option to select them at the end. But
well, I was getting ready to do something. We had a former colleague supervisor who, rather than he would take his trash from his house and take it to his office and throw it away to save money. So there's one I was getting ready to do that. I was getting ready to I was going to line the trunk of my car with plastic so that I could do that. So what were the other issues that, with the bid? I mean, the cost seems to be competitive.
The cost, we had two of the bids were very close. The third bid that we received was about a 50% increase over both of them. So it's really just about tightening it up and giving them a little bit better and more clear information to bid on.
Okay. And others wanted to bid, it was too tight in their schedule.
That's some of the feedback we received.
Yeah. I mean, presumably someone might have to buy additional equipment or whatever, which they couldn't get by January 1st. So
that
created some pressure, I'm sure.
The transition was an issue.
Yeah,
the service level delivery was an issue. There's a whole, and there's a lot of feedback we got from residents that I think we need to take into consideration as we recycle the package.
Yeah. Okay.
But I think we were happy about the numbers, like we're going to achieve what we want to achieve, which is provide some efficiency to the township and save everyone a little bit of money. But we do need to, there's a lot of details that I think we just missed in the first time around.
Yeah, okay.
Not that people didn't try very hard and put a lot of effort into it, but this is the first time we've done this.
Yeah, great. Well, I think the decision to defer it a little bit makes sense. Thank you.
Thank you. Come on up.
Since we're talking prices, I just want to say if you're a whitetail customer, it's $87 a quarter. So it is, the bids out there are higher for certain customers, but lower. So I just want it on the record since we quoted Blazinski's price.
Yep, and that is correct. Any other public comments? Okay, come on up and state your name and address.
Paul Ditton, Coldstream. So we're calling AJ Blusinski, but I think everybody knows they were bought, right, by Waste Connections? Okay, $36 billion company in market cap. So they've been buying, territories for quite some time, right? And so they buy A.J. Blasinski out. So they should be skilled at integrating the business into theirs. But I've seen nothing but absolutely the worst performance. I think this is why we're here, right? All the performance for A.J. Blasinski or Waste Connections went completely downhill. It coincided with the ownership change. So I have a problem with Waste Connections, actually, and A.J. Blasinski. Because before, I was with them like 25 years, didn't have any problems. And by the way, the pricing, it says on my bill, 2 times a week. I'm lucky if they come 1 time a week, right? So I don't understand the pricing. It's gone up about 34% in total, and this includes their fuel surcharge that they
Just
put
make
in,
sure you're
right?
facing the mics, people at home.
Oh,
So
I'm
face
sorry.
forward, I'm sorry.
It's my good side, all right. And I understand inflation, but they reduced their service by 50%. It's not twice a week, it's once a week. So the pricing from Whitetail 90, Mascara, I guess Mascara, you can get service from them here?
No, they put a bid in for a single hauler,
Okay.
but they do not service our township. So that's part of the driving factor that you can get bids from companies that won't service just part of the township.
Okay, so they may not have the infrastructure to service at this point?
It's not, they made a business decision, and other companies like Republic did as well, that it's not worth their dollars to come only for some houses and not the whole township, but they will put a bid in for the whole
Right.
bid.
So my point is, I've done a few acquisitions in my day. You step into the shoes of the person, the entity that you're purchasing. You should, you're doing it probably because you think you can actually do better business, not worse customer service that keep turning around. So that's my point. I think you get my point. I'm not real high on A.J. Blasinski or Waste Connections. I think they should be looked at pretty hard. And is the 108 including, or there going to be that surcharge? Do you know? That right now there's a $105 fee on my bill, and they say they change it based on the U.S. average diesel fuel charge, which has come down quite a bit from its high, by the way.
Yeah, it's 108 was their bid.
Yeah.
And that would include any other, they can't go higher because of the bid process.
But we talk about the different circumstances I just referenced. There's a trust issue, I think, with a 3-year contract. The other thing you could consider, this might get unwieldy, just throwing it out there, thinking outside the box. You could split the routes up in the township, give 1 to one bidder, 1 to the other, and let them do a good job, and then let's see who does the best job over a period of time. And you laugh, but I'm not happy with A.J. Blasinski. I think you got that, but.
No, and the contract, has penalties built into it, and the idea is that, there is a financial burden to be had by them if they don't do their job.
Yeah. So just in terms of splitting it up, I work for a huge manufacturing company. We had similar type engagements. We would do that from time to time to get performance.
And I would suggest that it's something that, we would discuss with the board.
Okay.
All right, thank you.
Can I respond?
I would like to. Sorry, I would like to add a comment in response to some of what we've heard, which is that, here we are second-guessing business decisions that are being made by companies, and I think that to some extent, we must act as an arm's length third party. So we can second guess, but we don't know what the actual business decisions are. And part of the reason I think that there's value in going to, let me call it a single hauler, is that the township, when talking in comparison with the cable companies, when the cable company screws up, residents don't call the township and complain. But when the trash is not picked up, residents call the township to complain with the expectation that the township has something to do with the trash hauling, whereas as of right now, we don't. All we do is, if a trash hauler can pay the fee and has the appropriate insurance, they can pick up trash in the township. And so this is a case of trying to meet expectations. But in any case, I don't think we should be second-guessing business decisions in the public meeting.
Can I respond? I just want to respond to Mr. Ditton. As you know, I live in the same neighborhood you do, and we use Blazinski also and have for 21 years. And I do worry about their level of service and how going forward, Blazinski or any provider would make up for lack of service to the residents. So for example, for July, in August, I got a bill for July in which they had subtracted $8 for the first week of July because they missed pickup that week. Well, they also missed pickup the very last week of July as well. So when I paid the bill, I subtracted $8 for the last week as well and sent it in with the explanation of, hey, you're subtracting $8 for every week missed, and you missed this week too. Well, they just sent me a bill for the $8 missing. So again, I wrote out, you didn't pick up for this week, so I don't think I should have to pay for it. And I haven't heard back from them yet, but that's things that I worry about, the consistency and how they're going to address this with residents. I don't think residents should have to pay for a service that they don't get. So, however that's going to be addressed, I think is very important going forward. Thank you.
Thank you. State your name and your address.
Bill Connell, 544 Gulf Road. We've lived in the township in that house since '95. And we've had AJ Blazinski the whole time. And much like everyone else, obviously there's been a big deterioration in the service. In fact, pulling out of my driveway, I took a photo of my unpicked up trash and recyclables today, just like the rest of Glen Hardy neighborhood. Is there an opportunity for people to get involved in the review process and the evaluation of these bids?
Mr. Duraco, can you respond about the process?
I would say no.
Well, I'm getting
I think it's just the
concerned
government.
because the only information on the information I saw is the dollar amount. So I run a consulting practice. We do dozens of major RFPs for pharma and biotech companies, including transportation. And the first thing you really need is to qualify the bidders. Second thing is, what's the quality of the service? Because if you don't have quality, the price means nothing. You don't have capacity. You can't produce 50 new trucks on a spot notice if somebody gets the bid who doesn't have the capacity. Then price should be the final thing. But what we do, we put together a decision matrix and you evaluate the bids based on several criteria that you've already predetermined so that you come up with a balanced choice. I'm not sure that one bidder is going to do a good job no matter who you pick. And there may be a lot more unhappy residents. So I think it's good to reject at this time, but maybe step back, maybe get some input from citizens like myself who are in the business of doing these kind of RFPs and provide some free advice. I'd be willing certainly to get involved. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comments? Come on up, state your name and address.
Hi, my name's Jim Clark. I actually work for AJ Blazinski, and I've been with the company for 21 years, and I hear the residents' complaints. I share their frustration, and I want to see if the board would consider putting me on the agenda maybe for the next meeting, because I would love to explain what we're doing, how we got to this problem that we got to, the reason why. I think there's some information I heard tonight that I probably can explain on why we got to this problem and what we've done to fix it. I know I'm not on the agenda tonight, and I understand, not accepting that, the bid, results and stuff like that. But I think we owe it, again, with the company for 21 years, we still have a fairly amount of residents within the township. I think you guys deserve an explanation of what happened. Because we used to be the premier hauler in this Chester County area, and I know we can get there. We're getting better. We got a long way to go, but we are making steps, to get to that. So I want to see if the board would consider, putting me on the agenda next board meeting, and I can explain to the residents exactly what we did and stuff like that. Because I think again they do deserve an explanation.
Thanks. We'll talk about it and see what our agenda looks like, and we can reach out to you.
Okay.
Or I assume we have your information.
Sure.
Okay. Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Thanks.
Good evening. My name is Paul Brady. I'm the president of Whitetail Disposal, and wanted to come out, introduce myself, maybe help with some of the questions. I've heard a lot this evening, and I think it's responsive and responsible as far as the RFP goes. So responsive is that they respond to all the requests on the RFP, and
just make sure you're talking into the mic. I'm sorry. It's
Okay.
just the people at home won't be able to hear you.
Responsive means that we filled out the RFP, answered all the questions that were required of the RFP. Responsible is, can we do the job? Can we pick up the trash? Are we able to come through with what we said as far as doing the trash service? As far as the recent RFP goes, I'm a little confused. I thought it was a reasonable RFP. In fact, last meeting or the meeting in July, there were a lot of positive things said about the RFP process and the staff and how they handled it. We went in there and bid on that business with full intentions to do a good job in this community and for the residents of Tredyffrin Township. In that RFP, there were certain things that we did as a company that we don't normally do. For example, we agreed to direct billing and to provide direct billing, which is one of the requests and some of the guidance that was given to us. We agreed to bid for 5 years because in essence, the RFP requested 3+2 at your discretion. In that July meeting, I said, look, you're going to run into higher prices. There's no way around getting those higher prices with what's going on out there in the trash world and with the requests that you have. It's very difficult to look out 5 years. So with that, we put in a bid. I think it was responsive, and I think it was responsible. I think some of those who spoke this evening talked about what we've been able to do in the community and how we provide service in the community. Every single community that we do single hauler, you can call up and contact or refer to them in any way, and they will give you a positive referral. So our level of service is there for the community. Now, with the 5-year bid, you are not going to get better pricing if you put it back out for bid. It's just not going to happen. In fact, I think diesel, someone mentioned it, it's been up 10 weeks in a row. And I don't see that going down anytime soon. So it was a very, very good bid we put in based on what you asked us to do for the RFP. In another community in Chester County, one of your fellow communities, Whitetail, Republic, and Waste Management were within 2% of each other. It's not like the Nationals going to come in with a better price in a month or 3 months or 4 months. If anything, it might be higher depending on what goes on with the market out there and fuel and stuff. So I'm not sure I understand why you would start over and put another RFP out and request. We are the lowest responsible bidder. We do pick up the trash very well. We have a system in place that services all the communities we work with, single hauler, and there's a price there and a bid there. In fact, our price, I think, is $124 a quarter, And I think that price is actually less than what the gentleman was talking about, him paying right now at this time for AJ Blazinski service. So why we're just tabling this, I don't quite understand the rationale there, because everything that was discussed, there's nothing that's going to change.
I just want to make sure I understand your comment, and I think Mr. Duraco explained it in a way that I understood, but you're saying you're the lowest responsible bidder. You weren't the lowest bidder, right?
That's correct, sir.
So you're saying that the other bidder that was lower is not responsible?
I would say the people who spoke this evening are saying that.
No, I'm asking you. I thought you said.
I think the gentleman who said it doesn't really matter what you charge if you don't pick up the trash was accurate.
Okay, that's why I thought you were saying you were the lowest responsible bidder.
Responsible. Well, it says responsive and responsible. So what RFP requires two things. Yes, sir.
I'm sorry. I was just asking.
I believe Whitetail Disposal is the lowest responsible bidder in the recent RFP process.
So you are saying that. Okay,
Yes.
so you're saying that the lowest bidder was not responsible.
As I also said, yes, sir. As I also said back in July, Whitetail, our highest cost for script customers is $108. We have a list of over 200 people who want us to provide service in your community. And they have requested, and we haven't been able to do business with them because we're in limbo as far as us being able to provide service. We can't go out there and deliver equipment and bring on new customers for 3 months worth of service. For the nice woman who spoke about the $25, there was a little confusion. We went ahead and agreed to pick up the residents that we currently service through the end of the year so that you could take and follow through on this current RFP process. If you prolong that another 3, 4, 5, 6 months, whatever it may be, we can't add any new customers in this community just because we don't know what you're doing and where you're going, and we will lose money.
But to answer her question, are you going to drop our existing resident service? I think that's what she was asking. She's a current resident.
Right, correct. And so what we did is instead of dropping the service, because we couldn't, for example, if we weren't the lowest bidder in this process, that means someone else was hired to begin January 1st. And I might add, right now there's 12 different bids going on right now that we're involved in. So you are on schedule, and this is a normal period of time to start service for January 1st, 24. But we elected not to pick up equipment early so that you could complete your RFP process, and we didn't affect her in a negative way. The only thing we added with the $25 is if we aren't the low bidder, then we have to pick up that equipment early, and we pick it up later in January, and we discussed charging $25 so that we could commit through the end of the year. That's where that came from. But right now, the RFP that was put out there was a decent RFP. We were responsive to it. We responded on everything, and we did things we don't normally do so that we could be a part of that process. The only thing I think that you're talking about doing is trying to solicit a bid from the national companies. And as I said, in a like community just down the road, Whitetail, Republic, and Waste Management were all within 2.5% of each other. And our bid reflects that bid in your community right now. You're not going to run into lower prices because nationals come in 2 or 3 months. For us, from a business standpoint, sir, how am I supposed to run a business in limbo, deliver equipment? In other words, I'm telling you, it's very difficult to run business in this community right now because there's this, what we thought was somewhat limbo as far as the RFP originally goes. And now you're talking about extending it further for reasons I don't quite understand. And so therefore, we can't even sign up those 200 plus residents who do want to switch to our service. So
I guess, still just going back to Ms. Ealer's question, are you going to drop the existing customers? She's an existing customer.
Correct. No.
So you would not, okay.
And we did send out notice, and I think it's actually posted also on the Tredyffrin Township website that we elected not to do that. Didn't want to leave people without service or the only service provider, Blazinski, going into the holidays.
I tell you what, it seems like you have a really good opportunity to take 200 new of our customers in this township and show what a great service you can do and what an amazing service you can do rather than just leaving them in limbo. That's what I would suggest you would focus on, sir.
Did I leave them in limbo?
I would take up these 200 customers, show what a great service you can do, and then maybe they'll come here and tell us, pick Whitetail when they do an RFP. That's what I would suggest you do. I think you've said your piece tonight. I think we all heard and understand. I don't know if there's much else you need to say.
They did.
All right, thank you.
Okay. Well, I appreciate your time. Thank you very much.
Thank
And as I said, we will lose money if we deliver any new customers, and then we have to pick up the equipment in 3-4 months. Thank you very much. I appreciate your time this evening.
All right, thank you. All right, come on up and say your name and address.
Good evening, Arthur Zadrozny, 16 Painters Lane in Chesterbrook. First off, one, I want to thank you for going forward with the idea of a unified trash hauling contract. When I first moved to West Goshen back in 1980, I was kind of shocked to find that we as single-family homeowners were responsible for our own trash. And of course, we had 3 different trash companies, which meant 6 days a week there was someone's trash out front, trucks going up and down the street. So the idea of unifying it is wonderful. And hopefully there'll be some cost savings for us residents. 2 things I wanted to raise, and I'm pleased that you're postponing the decision on the bid or going out to rebid, because there were some things that I didn't see in time that I wish you would reconsider going forward. One is the HOAs. I'm treasurer at Painters Lane HOA. We're one of the smaller HOAs in Chesterbrook, but when AJ Blazinski informed us earlier this year that they were having to cut back to 1 day a week service, I went out and tried to get bids. The only company that bid was JP Mascaro, and they came in twice what we're still paying Blazinski. Waste Management wouldn't bid. I'm not going back to Republic because we had bad experience with them, and Whitetail would not bid. Okay? So I would like you to consider having the HOAs part of the bid. I understand maybe some HOAs might be stubborn and say we can do better, but at least give us the option of buying into the township bid or opting out if an HOA wants to. Because my fear is if we go township wide, especially as a small HOA, I might be left out, and then I'm having to bid up to get the service that I need. So if you would consider that in the RFP going forward, to have that at least as an option that we can buy in as an HOA or opt out, whichever makes more sense to you. The other thing is on the billing. One of the nice things that I saw in West Goshen Township when they went to a township-wide trash pickup, they rolled it in along with the sewer bill. So every quarter I got the sewer bill, I got the trash bill. I would hope that any business that understands, and especially in this day and age of trying to run overhead, the burden of billing all the residents in the township ought to be offset by being able to get a single bill to the township, and then the township just layering into your sewer bill for us residents our fair share. So those are the 2 things I wanted to ask you to consider going forward, and I appreciate your service. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, any other public comments? State your name and your address.
Sure. Jack McAllister, 455 Walker Road. I've lived there for 50 years. I've seen lots of haulers go through, and all of them were great. Belinsky was great, but Waste Connections is terrible. They should be ashamed of themselves. And apparently a fella wrote to the Valley Forge Civic Group, a guy named Don Williams, who apparently sent his letter to you folks, and apparently indicating that Waste Connections is a terrible hauler nationwide. So I would even say, based on my experience with them locally, since they took over for Belinsky, I mean, they're an insult to Belinsky, which was a great family outfit. And they have never collected anything on the same day, whether it be trash or recyclables. And a lot of times they don't collect at all. And they used to collect, Belinsky would collect twice a week for the same price. Now they're doing once a week, and they have all kinds of excuses. If they're a national outfit, damn it, they should basically know their business and be able to deliver a service when they're taking over another outfit, and they can't. In which case, I would exclude them from any bids in this township, based on the basis of quality. And I agree with the other people, and I also agree with the fellow from Whitetail that people do want to transfer out of Waste Connections, which was Belinsky Waste Connections, because the service is terrible. And it's now been about 2 months of terrible service. There's no reason for that. I mean, if you're in business, you're in business. So anyway, on that basis, I would recommend you exclude them from all bids on the basis of lack of quality. And price is not an issue, it's quality of service, and they don't have it. And apparently, according to Don Williams' report, he stated 5 places nationwide where they were terrible, and apparently that report has been sent to the Board of Supervisors, and it was available on the Valley Forge Civic Group. So that's all I have to say. Thank you. And I like the idea of what we have now, and I'm not looking forward to a township single hauler. I thought for 50 years they've done very well. And so I think they could probably do very well with independent contractors, with competitive bidding. I think it would be, and that is the American capitalistic way for small companies to compete with each other, as opposed to centralization, which has always been bad, subject to corruption and all kinds of problems nationwide. So thank you, folks.
Thank you. Any other public comment?
Hi, Bob Ropey, 18 Sycamore Court, Paoli. I wasn't going to get up until Mike Hebert called out my family for the trash to work, but we don't do that anymore. We're with AJ Blazinski, and we're very happy with AJ Blazinski. I guess we live in a make-up magical neighborhood because they come every time. They text me when they're going to be late. I've seen whitetail. My mom has whitetail on Hickory Lane. They come on Saturday when they put their trash out on Friday. It's with everybody. So what I look at is I see a couple problems. One is personnel with the trash people, and the second thing is people are complaining about the amount of trash that they have versus the cost. So, Mr. Duraco, could I make a suggestion that, without offending the gentleman from Whitetail, could we look at contracts that have single driver crews with automatic arms so that we can eliminate some of the crew issues? Because that's the biggest problem with AJ Blazinski. They are telling me they don't have crews. And the second thing is, and I'll give you a second to respond, but the second thing is for those people that have 2 pickups or 1 pickup, maybe for an additional cost, they could get 2 cans and a recyclable instead of just 1 can. So that would eliminate the 2 pickups.
Yeah, it's something we'll discuss as we work through the revised request for bids with the board.
Is that an option? Have you heard that in your bidding?
Again, the good thing with a bid package is you have a chance to craft it for what you can make it as specific as you want for your service. So you could say 1 day a week, 2 days. I mean, you can write those options in. The challenging part becomes the more details and items you add in, the more complicated the bid process becomes, and it's just you try to keep it. You generally try to keep them pretty simple, pretty straightforward to get you the best results. But again, it's something we'll take under consideration.
Thank you.
Listening to all the comments tonight, I'm curious, what are you going to change in your next request for proposals?
Quite frankly, it's not something I've thought about right now. We'll, like I said, we have a lot to take into consideration. We'll read the minutes, we'll watch the tape, and make decisions from there.
Okay, so
I can say that also on the memo, which I think is available on our agenda. Is that right for the public? It does list some of the ones that we initially considered, which is why we brought this tonight and that was moving that 5 years down to the 3 years, changing the start date. Let's see, whether an opt-out is feasible, and level of service. And then all the other things that were discussed tonight will be, discussed further too.
And what are you referencing? The only thing I saw was the agenda when I came in. Was there another document?
So on our website, you can access not just the agenda, but all the materials that go with it. Okay. So the actual ordinances for the public hearing and memos for each of the items.
Okay, and Mr. Holt, I just want to say, you were questioning why Whitetail isn't taking the 200 customers. There's a huge cost to roll out I know when we came on, there was a learning process, a learning curve. The first few weeks were bumpy, but just the cost of equipment. So it does put businesses in limbo when we don't know what time frame we're looking at. So I think it was fair, the questions he was asking, and also Ms. Humble. I just want to say, Blazinski, they called me in September, carefully following up on a call from April, and they were very apologetic. So I hope we all remember there are all people involved here, so thanks.
Thank you. Any other public comments?
I just have, Mr. Duraco, I know you don't know what is necessarily going to be in a revised RFP, but is it fair to say you're going to review some of the issues that the chair just went over and the things that you had discussed in your sort of introductory statements?
Absolutely.
Okay. All right, thanks.
All right, any other comments? All right, we will move to the vote. All in favor say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Now we move to new matters, and we'll start with board member new matters.
I was asked this by a particular resident on Torrey Hollow, but I think this might apply to many different residents in the township, so I wanted to ask it generally. On Torrey Hollow Drive, which is off of West Wind, there is a cut in the street and the curb to where all of the uphill water drains through that cut and into a dug ditch and into the residents' front yard. So the township cut means that all the uphill water comes and goes into their front yard, but then goes down a ditch that's been dug for a culvert. Every home on that side has their own concrete culvert that the water goes down through this drainage ditch, goes underneath the parking lot at D'Ambrosia Park, and then comes out on the other side between the parking lot and the Chester Valley Trail. So the question is, we're getting a lot more rain lately, and with that cut coming through into the ditch, it's filling their front yard almost all the way up to their front yard, to the front door, and they're very concerned about that. So questions are, can the residents dig deeper the land ditch that's there, or is the township responsible, since that's the township easement and the township is choosing to drain the street water there? And who is responsible for cleaning out the concrete culverts from the land ditch? So again, I'm sure it's not just residents on the street. I'm sure there's other residents in the township this applies to as well.
I would suggest having them reach out directly to staff for us to look into this further.
So everybody on that street? Because if you dig the ditch in one person's front yard, then it's going to make the water go, it'll spread out, but then it's going to go, it keeps going down the way.
Like I said, I don't think we want to tie anything, but I think it's best for us to get as much information for them to just have them reach out to us directly, and we'll go from there.
Thank you.
Any other board member new matters tonight?
I had, this maybe isn't really exactly a new matter, but I think I misspoke when I gave my zoning hearing board report. The next zoning hearing board meeting is the 28th, not the 29th. It's the 28th at 7 p.m.
So it's actually canceled. It will be canceled. There's nothing on the agenda. We received no applications.
Even better. The zoning hearing board meeting is canceled. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Any other board member new matters? All right, citizen new matters. Any citizen new matters?
Ann Murphy, 5 Berkshire Terrace. I just wanted to give my compliments to the Historical Commission. My husband and I attended the historical house tour of the general's houses on Sunday, and it was really well planned by the members of the commission, and we really didn't realize how many great historical houses there are close to Valley Forge. And the other comment I wanted to say was to thank Public Works Director and his staff for watering the trees at Wilson Farm Park and letting us know when they were drought stressed, so we would also water them. We had a really dry May, and then the heat of a couple of weeks ago. We really appreciate the extra effort. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for that comment. I will say, the Historical Commission, all the volunteers, members, as well as other folks that attend the meetings, and, under the leadership of Rob Williams, has really been doing a terrific job. I know that, you have been involved with the EAC and some of that, and they, for a while now, have been sort of the standard bearer for what a good township commission looks like. I'm going to throw down the gauntlet. I'll tell you, the historical commission is coming. They're coming up behind you, and they're using you as a model. They're using the EAC as a model, and they're really trying to, really do things differently than have been done in the past, and really, make meaningful programs and have put out meaningful information. So.
Thank you. Any other citizen new comments?
A couple quick things. If I may just go back to the trash, is that possible for a minute? Thanks. Last week, I attended the Tredyffrin Easttown School Board Finance meeting, and one of the things I saw there was a lot of residents were upset that the school board has not made a decision whether or not to build a 6th elementary school, and they said the not deciding is leaving them in limbo, specifically an area in Chesterbrook's concerned about the impact on the real estate. So my request is that we can communicate a time frame, not tonight, but just saying this is when we're going to make a decision whether or not we're moving forward with single hall or not, and then also what the process is. So I just hope that's communicated. Last week when the prisoner was on the loose, my street was inundated with solicitors, and from my prior time on Tredyffrin Town Watch, I know that all solicitors are supposed to be registered with the township. And there was a lot of communication going back and forth, and police officer Joe Jonas told me that I could register with the township on a do not subscribe for solicitors, but another resident said that list does not in fact exist. So I was wondering, do we know what the parameters are? Do we have a list of households that can request not to be solicited? We had 5 solicitors last week, just to clarify.
Yeah, I know the chief's not here tonight. It's the police department coordinates all that, and we can have him follow up with you on specifics about that.
Well,
they are supposed to be registered, yes, if they're soliciting, and he can give you, that we talked about looking into opting out, but the chief can get back to you on details on that.
Okay, the police department said it was the township that manages that.
They handle all the solicitors. We're not involved with that. Police chief, I mean, it's a township, it's the police chief, it's in the police department. Officer Butler handles the registration.
Yeah, they said it was in the, okay, so I'll follow up with the police department to see how we can.
Yeah, we'll get your contact information and have them follow up with you.
Okay, and then another request I had is, in the last year, I feel a lot of changes have been made in our township, everything from the bag policy to other things, and a lot of residents are caught off guard. When I talk to neighbors, they don't know about these things that are happening, and tonight I felt ignorant on a lot of things that were going on behind the scenes. What means do we have to communicate to the community? I get the quarterly advertisement township booklet, but what ways are we getting the communication out about the different policies?
So we have a public information specialist who posts constantly on our social media, so Facebook, Instagram. We push out information there. You can sign up, again, on our website for our e-newsletter, so we're always putting information in that as well. I mean, the best thing to do is, again, coming to a meeting, reading agendas, going to our website. Anything important gets posted somewhere at some
posting,
point.
even at my age, I'm not on Instagram. So I think when you're using social media as a means, I think we need to have a more central way for the, and I'll call myself
our website is a fantastic resource.
What is?
Our website as a,
Well, even today when I looked at the trash, I just saw the notices from Whitetail. I didn't see the other things.
Sometimes it'll take a little bit of work to find things, but I can assure you that we make sure that information is out there.
Ma'am, I would like to respond to that, which is that, when I want information about the township, I often go to tredyffrin.org and I look for information on our website. It's there. Now, perhaps I know sometimes, which particular body I'm looking for information on, like the library or the EAC or, is it the minutes of the board meeting? And if it's not there, I will message the township staff. And typically, obviously from the time that information, comes out to the time it actually gets to the website, maybe a few days. But it does get there, and I know that I go to the website to look for information. So please go to tredyffrin.org, and if you're looking for any specific information, please message the township staff. They're very good about getting back to you.
Okay, thank you. And then my last thing is in general, I've lived in this township since 1999. I moved here from the New York City suburbs, and when I came here, I was in love with this township. It was a breath of fresh air, it was just beautiful. And I've been really saddened and disappointed by a lot of the ordinances that have been changed to the rapid urbanization of our township. I'm concerned about the lifetime multi-story structure. There's just so much I'm just asking that you, and again, a lot of people don't know when they say, well, there's going to be a building at Lifetime. It passed by one vote to change the ordinance. They didn't know about it. And it's permanent changes we're making to our township that we'll never be able to get back. And that's why I really feel the information needs to be out more. Because, and that's a lot of the heated debate in the school district is over the population size. Every decision you make is having significant impact elsewhere too. So if we can go back to our efforts for green space, I would really appreciate it. Thank you.
Arthur Sidrazi again, and just to follow up what the young lady was saying, I'm a little older, I think. But the website, every time I try and go there, I find it fairly cumbersome. I usually have someone, David's usually great about sending me a link or someone else. The newsletter is wonderful. The problem with saying go to the website to look for something, if there's something new, like the trash bid, if you don't know about it, you don't know where to look for it. So I would encourage, keep the newsletter. Is it monthly, quarterly?
We have I think a monthly e-newsletter that Pat puts together, and then we have our quarterly one that gets printed and mailed.
One thing that's really sad is the decline in local newspapers in our society, and that's something that frankly we just don't support them enough. Luckily, we have a reporter on the line right now, Holly Herman, who is patch.com, where if you go in, subscribe to patch.com, you're going to find out everything that's going on in the township just about every day, bang in your email box. So I would suggest everyone out there sign up to patch.com.
Believe me, and I know Holly well with my involvement with the Bike Skills Park, and quite frankly, Holly was my source of information about the trash contract. So again, the newsletter, as long as there's a section that says what's coming up, so it's easy for us. But again, hunting through the website, as good as it is, if you don't know what to look for, it's hard to find it. Thank you.
I will note that, we actually have a web search engine based right here in Tredyffrin, and you can use that search engine rather than using search engines based on the West Coast.
Ray Clark from Overlook Place in Melbourne. I was going to talk about communication as well. Just a couple of things. The Woodland Ordinance is on E360 or whatever it's called. There's a section there called New Ordinances, and the signed ordinance is right there. But still, I would encourage the township with something new like that to be thinking really hard about how to communicate it to residents. And not just residents, the tree companies. There should be like a formal process to make sure that everybody we know that provides tree services in the township knows about the ordinance and the permit requirements. And I think the EAC is working on a list of the companies, and so there's some opportunities to kind of coordinate on that. I will say that I would agree with the lady who said she's not on Instagram or Facebook or whatever. Certainly neither am I, but the one thing that does work well is Pat's monthly e-newsletter. And I think that could be maybe, thought about a little bit so that the new news really hits you when you open that up, and then kind of the thing from the inspector about today's permit issue or whatever is more buried. But that's a really good thing. And coming to tonight, in terms of communication, there was a discussion about the minimum municipal obligation. And that was like $1 million. And there really wasn't much time spent on it, and it was kind of bewildering to us kind of sitting in the back as to what was going on. So I think for really big items like that, maybe just having a slide or two that goes into like what you're all voting on would be really helpful. So just to ask you to think a little bit about that. Thanks.
You have a virtual comment as well?
I want to echo something that Matt said a minute ago, because I'm hearing you guys talk about, you didn't know about the woodland ordinance and we know about trash. And like, if I pull up my patch, my email, I am buried in this thing. Like, I have it every single day over and over again. So there really is a lot of information out there. You just have to be on the right places. But the patch has been talking about this repeatedly, if you want to learn about it. So just for what that's worth, it's a way to get information about what's going on in the township.
All right, we have a virtual citizen comment.
Hi, this is Carlotta Johnston Pugh. I'm at 1368 Upper Gulf Road. Just a couple things. On the trash, I heard what the gentleman said from AJ Blazinski, and I listened to what the gentleman said from Whitetail. And in my opinion, it was kind of, I want to say not fair, because the gentleman from AJ Blazinski asked, could he be put on the agenda to talk about the pluses and the minuses that were going on? The gentleman from Whitetail kind of just went, I want to say hog wild, saying, we'll be the lowest in this. And the fact that he's saying, well, we can't take 200 new people because we don't know if the township is going to give us the contract. In my mind, that doesn't make good business sense, because if you're doing the business now and you're saying you're going to stop doing it, why wouldn't you want to take these 200 people, again, like someone said, to come and have the citizens come back and give you praise? But I think the one thing that I just wanted to say is, I think everyone that the RFP went out for maybe should be put on the agenda to come and speak and say what their pluses are, what their minuses are, if you messed up, everybody, so that the citizens in the township has an idea of who is bidding and also what the prices are, because paying $108 a quarter or paying $90 a quarter or what have you, it does make a difference, especially for the seniors in the township. So they have an idea of how they can budget, and they know exactly this is what's going to take place. That's basically all I have to say.
Thank you. Any other citizen comments? All right, and I don't see any online. All right, do we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Do we have a second? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, thanks everyone. See you next meeting.